My name is Franklin Morris, and at 67 years old, I thought I knew my barber better than I knew most people. 40 years of Tuesday morning haircuts builds that kind of trust. Southwest. When Joe leaned close during what seemed like a routine trim and whispered those 6 words, "Don't drink the water at home," my entire world tilted on its axis. I had no idea that warning would lead me down a rabbit hole of family betrayal, organized crime, and a truth about my wife's death that would shatter everything I believed about the people I loved most. The poisoned water in my pipes was just the beginning. I've been getting my hair cut at Joe's barbershop every Tuesday for 40 years. Same chair, same time, same terrible jokes about the weather. That Tuesday started like all the others, except it didn't. The morning began normal enough. I made coffee in the kitchen of the house Ruth and I bought in 1985, back when this neighborhood was working-class families and corner stores. Now it's artisanal bakeries and luxury condos sprouting up like weeds. My daughter Maya came downstairs with her husband Derek trailing behind her. They'd moved in 3 months ago, just temporarily, Dad, until we get back on our feet. 3 months. Ruth used to say nothing temporary ever really is. "Morning, Dad," Maya said, not quite meeting my eyes. She'd been doing that a lot lately, looking everywhere but directly at me. Derek poured himself coffee, his 5th cup already that morning by the look of him. Jumpy. "Hey, Franklin. Forgot to mention, we've got the water company coming today. Just a routine pipe inspection." "Nobody called me about any inspection," I said. "They called the house line." "Must have missed it." Derek smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Nothing about Derek ever seemed to reach his eyes. Nothing to worry about. Just routine. Maya's hand trembled as she lifted her coffee cup. She set it down quickly, coffee sloshing onto the counter. "I should get ready for work." She left before I could respond. Derek watched her go, then checked his phone, his jaw tight. I'd worked at the water treatment plant for 32 years before I retired. I knew what routine inspections looked like, and they didn't involve calling residents directly. But I let it go. That was my first mistake. At 10 a.m., I drove to Joe's barbershop, passing the construction site where Mrs. Patterson's house used to be. She died 8 months ago, fell down her stairs, they said. Her house sold within a week to some development company. Now it's a hole in the ground waiting to become $800,000 condos. Joe's shop sat between a Vietnamese restaurant and a check cashing place, one of the last old businesses left on the block. The barber pole spun lazily in the autumn sun. When I walked in, Joe looked up from sweeping, and something flashed across his face. Fear. He covered it quickly with his usual grin. "Franklin Morris, right on time. You could set your watch by this man," Joe announced to the empty shop. His nephew Marcus looked up from his phone in the corner, nodded once, then went back to scrolling. I settled into the chair, and Joe draped the cape around my shoulders. His hands shook as he fastened it. "You okay, Joe?" "Fine, fine. Just need more coffee." He picked up his scissors, set them down, picked up his comb. His eyes kept flicking to Marcus, then to the window. "How's Maya doing? Heard she and Derek moved back in with you. Saving money, they say." Joe started trimming my beard, his movements mechanical, distracted. We'd been doing this dance for 4 decades, the comfortable silence of old friends, punctuated by sports talk and neighborhood gossip. But today the silence felt wrong. Heavy. Then he leaned in close, his breath hot against my ear. "Franklin," he whispered, barely audible over the hum of the air conditioner. "Trust me, don't drink your tap water. Buy bottled. Tell no one I warned you." I froze. "What?" His hands were shaking harder now. "I saw what they put in the reservoir truck. It's parked on your street." Before I could respond, before I could ask what the hell he meant, the bell above the door chimed. Marcus stood up, suddenly alert. Joe jerked back, his voice changing completely, becoming loud and casual. "So I told him, that's not how you bet on football. You gotta know the teams." He laughed, too loud, too bright. I stared at him in the mirror. Joe's eyes were wide, pleading. He gave a tiny shake of his head. Marcus walked over, studying us both. "Everything good here, Uncle Joe?" "Perfect, perfect. Just giving Franklin the usual treatment. Joe's hands had steadied, but sweat beaded on his forehead despite the air conditioning. Marcus smiled, but it was cold. Good. Wouldn't want any miscommunication. He said that last word slowly, deliberately. Then he looked at me. How you feeling these days, Mr. Morris? Getting on in years, must be tough. I'm 67, not 90, I said flatly. Still. Lot of things can go wrong at that age. Health problems. Accidents. He patted my shoulder, too hard. Good thing you got family looking after you. After Marcus left to grab lunch, I tried asking Joe what he meant, but he just shook his head, acting confused. Stressed lately, Franklin. Been saying strange things. Don't mind me. But his eyes were begging me to understand, to believe the warning, even if he had to deny it. I paid, tipped, and left. Joe watched me through the window until I turned the corner. The reservoir truck was exactly where Joe said it would be, 3 houses down from mine. 2 men in water company uniforms crouched by an open manhole, doing something I couldn't quite see. One of them looked up as I drove past. Our eyes met for a fraction of a second. Then he looked away fast, said something to his partner, and they started packing up their equipment. I pulled into my driveway, my mind racing. Joe had been terrified. Those men had reacted to seeing me. Derek's insistence on a routine inspection that morning. Don't drink the water. Inside, the house was quiet. Maya's car was gone, she'd left for her job at the insurance office. Derek's truck sat in the driveway, but I didn't see him when I walked in. I went to the kitchen, poured a glass of tap water from the filter pitcher we always used. Held it up to the light. Crystal clear. No smell. No discoloration. I set it on the counter. Footsteps behind me. Maya walked in from the garage, her face pale. Dad, you're back. How was Joe's? Fine. I picked up the glass, watching her. Just getting some water. Something flickered in her expression. Relief. Satisfaction. It was gone before I could identify it. I'm glad you're staying hydrated. At your age, dehydration can be dangerous. At your age. Marcus had said that too. I lifted the glass to my lips. Maya watched intently. I took a small sip, then another, watching her face. She relaxed slightly, her shoulders dropping. I need to make some calls for work, she said, already heading toward her room. Derek's in the garage if you need anything. I dumped the water down the sink the moment she left. My hands shook. My daughter, my baby girl, had just watched me drink potentially poisoned water with something like relief on her face. No. I was being paranoid. There had to be another explanation. That evening, I couldn't eat. Couldn't focus on the television. Derek had come in from the garage around dinner time, smelling like cigarettes and sweat. He'd asked how I was feeling 3 times. Maya had been silent, pushing food around her plate. Around 10 p.m., I heard Derek's voice from the garage. The walls in this old house were thin if you knew where to listen. I crept to the hallway, pressing my ear against the door. He drank it today. Derek's voice was low, excited. Give it 2 weeks, maybe 3. The old man's health has been declining anyway, no one will question it. The blood drained from my face. My legs felt weak. Yeah, I know the timeline, Derek continued. November 15th. We'll have the house sold by Christmas. Maya's got the power of attorney, everything's in place. No, she won't be a problem. She does what I tell her. I backed away from the door slowly, carefully, my heart hammering against my ribs. I made it to my bedroom and closed the door with shaking hands. They were trying to kill me. My son-in-law and, God help me, maybe my daughter too. I didn't sleep. At 2 a.m., I crept downstairs to my office and pulled out all my financial documents. There it was, a power of attorney form with my signature at the bottom. I had no memory of signing it. The date was from 6 months ago, right around when Derek convinced me to update my estate planning. Maya was listed as beneficiary on everything. The house, my pension, my life insurance, my savings. When did I agree to that? Ruth and I had always kept it split between both daughters, Maya and Patricia. Patricia. My younger daughter who lived in Seattle. We'd grown distant after Ruth died, but not by choice. Every time I called, Patricia said she was swamped with work at her law firm. Every invitation to visit was met with, maybe next month, Dad. I'd thought she was just busy. Now I wondered if someone had been intercepting those calls. I looked up the value of my house, $850,000. In this gentrifying neighborhood, it could go for more. Derek had gambling debts. Maya had mentioned it once, then never again when Derek shot her a look that could have frozen water. Ruth. Oh God, Ruth. My wife died 2 years ago. Sudden illness, the doctors said. Organ failure. She'd been healthy, walked 3 miles every morning, did yoga, ate better than I did. Then 1 month she was tired all the time. Confused. Weak. Then gone. The symptoms. I'd looked them up after, trying to understand. They could have been arsenic poisoning. I spent the rest of the night going through documents, making copies, hiding originals. As sunrise painted the kitchen window gold, I poured every container of tap water down the drain. Refilled them with bottled water from the garage supply. If anyone asked, I'd say the tap water tasted funny. Derek came down at 7. Morning, Franklin. How'd you sleep? Fine, I lied. I poured a glass from my water bottle into a regular cup. Just fine. He watched me drink, his expression neutral. Feeling okay? You look tired. Just age catching up with me, I said, and watched something like satisfaction flash across his face. That's when I knew for certain. They wanted me dead. And I had no idea if my own daughter was a willing participant or another victim. But I knew one thing, I wasn't going to roll over and die for their convenience. The next morning, I played the part of the oblivious old man. Made breakfast, read the paper, complained about my arthritis. Maya and Derek watched me like scientists observing a lab rat. I pretended not to notice. How are you feeling, Dad? Maya asked for the 3rd time. Same as yesterday. I sipped my bottled water from a regular glass. Why do you keep asking? No reason. Just, you're getting older. We worry. We. She said we, including herself with Derek. My stomach turned. After they left for work, or wherever they really went, I drove back to Joe's barbershop. This time, I didn't wait for an appointment. Marcus wasn't there, just Joe, organizing supplies in the back. Franklin. He looked terrified. You shouldn't. My daughter is trying to kill me, isn't she? The words came out flat, emotionless. I was too tired for anything else. Joe's face crumpled. He locked the front door, flipped the sign to closed, and turned to me. I'm so sorry. I should have told you everything, but Marcus. Start from the beginning. Joe collapsed into the barber chair like his strings had been cut. Marcus came to work for me 6 months ago. Said he needed a job. I'm family, what was I supposed to say? But then I started noticing things. Expensive watches. New car. And the phone calls, always stepping outside, always in Italian. Italian. Marcus works for someone. Someone powerful. I didn't know who until 3 weeks ago when I saw him meeting with Derek at a restaurant downtown. They didn't see me, but I watched them for 20 minutes. Derek was scared, I could see it from across the street. Marcus was calm, cold. Like he was explaining math to a child. Joe's hands twisted together. I followed Marcus one day. I know I shouldn't have, but my grandchildren, I needed to know what I'd brought into my shop. He went to a warehouse near the industrial district. Met with a man in an expensive suit. I took a picture. He pulled out his phone, showed me a blurry photo of a well-dressed man in his 60s getting into a black Mercedes. Who is he? I don't know, but the Mercedes had a personalized plate, VFC. I looked it up. Vincent Carbone. He owns half the commercial real estate in this city. And he's connected. Connected. The mob. Jesus Christ. Last week, I heard Marcus on the phone talking about the Morris job. He was bragging to whoever was on the other end. Said something about a special delivery to your street. That's when I knew. Joe looked at me with wet eyes. I wanted to tell you everything, but Marcus knows where my daughter lives. Where my grandchildren go to school. He made that very clear. Why did you warn me at all then? Because I'm a coward, but I'm not a monster, Joe whispered. I thought if I gave you a hint, you'd figure it out, protect yourself. And maybe Marcus wouldn't know I'd said anything. But he knew. The way he looked at me after you left, he knew. I'm sorry, Franklin. I'm so sorry. I put my hand on his shoulder. You did what you could. Thank you. I left Joe there and drove straight to the bank. The manager, a young woman named Stephanie, greeted me with a professional smile that faltered when she saw my face. Mr. Morris, is everything all right? I need to review my accounts. All of them. And I need to know if anyone else has accessed them recently. Her smile disappeared completely. Of course. Let me pull up your records. We went to her office. She typed, clicked, frowned. It looks like your daughter Maya was here last Wednesday. She asked about, oh. About what? Stephanie's professionalism warred with human decency. Decency 1. She asked about beneficiary access protocols. Specifically, how quickly she could access funds after your passing. She wanted to know about every account, investment, property. She was very thorough. The words hit like physical blows. I see. Mr. Morris, if you're concerned about your estate planning, I can connect you with. I need to make some changes. Today. Can you help me with that? She could and did. We spent 2 hours revising everything. I set up a trust, added complexity, bought myself time. If I died tomorrow, Maya wouldn't see a penny for months, maybe years. Not until lawyers sorted through the paperwork maze I'd just created. One more thing, I said as we finished. Can you recommend a private investigator? Stephanie hesitated, then wrote down a name. My uncle. Thomas Knight. He's retired police, does investigation work now. Tell him I sent you. Thomas Knight met me at a diner an hour later. He was my age, black, with gray at his temples and sharp eyes that missed nothing. We'd actually met before. He'd been the union rep for the police union when we'd negotiated with the water department on joint infrastructure projects 20 years ago. Franklin Morris. Heard you retired from the plant, he said, shaking my hand. What can I do for you? I told him everything. Joe's warning, Derek's phone call, the water truck, Maya's bank visit. Thomas listened without interrupting, taking notes on a small pad. When I finished, he sat back and whistled low. You don't mess around. Can you help? I can look into Derek and this Vincent Carbone. But Franklin, if Carbone is who I think he is, we're talking organized crime. Real, dangerous people. You need to go to the police. And tell them what? That I overheard a phone call. That my barber gave me a cryptic warning. I need proof first. Thomas studied me for a long moment. You remind me of my father. Stubborn as hell, twice as brave. All right. Give me 48 hours. He called me 36 hours later. We need to meet. Not at your house. We met at a park on the north side of town. Thomas handed me a folder. Derek Lawson owes $340,000 to private lenders. These aren't banks, Franklin. These are loan sharks connected to the Carbone family. The payments were due last month. He's been getting extensions, but there's a hard deadline, November 15th. 2 weeks away. There's more, Thomas said grimly. I pulled everything I could on Vincent Carbone. He's been buying up properties in your neighborhood for 3 years. Always elderly homeowners. Always below market value. And here's where it gets interesting, 8 elderly property owners in your area have died in the past 2 years. All ruled natural causes or accidents. 8. Mrs. Patterson. Mr. Lee. The Gonzalez couple. The Bishop widow. 3 more. All owned homes worth $700,000 or more. All died suddenly. All their properties were sold within weeks to shell companies owned by Carbone. My hand shook as I looked through the documents. They're killing people for real estate. I can't prove it. That's the problem. Every death was investigated, ruled natural causes or accidental. But the pattern. Thomas shook his head. I showed this to a detective friend. Off the record. He said they've suspected something but could never get enough evidence for a warrant. What about Derek? Can we prove he's involved? Not yet. But I'm working on it. In the meantime, Franklin, you need to be careful. If they think you know, they'll accelerate the timeline. Thomas gripped my arm. Exactly. Keep pretending. Don't change your routine. Let me keep digging. But when I got home, I found something that changed everything. Maya was at work, Derek was out. I used a tension wrench and pick, skills I'd learned as a building supervisor, to open Derek's car trunk. Inside was a folder marked, estate documents. Inside were loan papers with November 15th circled in red. A note in Derek's handwriting, payment in full or V takes collateral. And underneath, a property appraisal for my house listing it as, future collateral, $850K value. There were also copies of my medical records. Someone had annotated them, adding notes like, history of heart disease in family, and, age-appropriate decline expected. At the bottom was something that stopped my heart, Ruth's death certificate. In the margin, in pencil, someone had written, template. Template. They'd killed my Ruth. They'd murdered my wife as practice, as a template, for killing me. I took pictures of everything, put it all back exactly as I'd found it, and went inside. I made it to the bathroom before I vomited. That night, my neighbor Mrs. Chen knocked on my door. She was 72, had lived next door for 15 years. Franklin, I'm glad I caught you. I've been meaning to tell you something. What is it? Last month, when you were at your doctor's appointment, I saw Maya letting some workers into your basement. They were down there for about 2 hours. I thought it was strange, she didn't mention any work being done. Workers. 2 men. They had tools, like plumbers. I only noticed because one of them was smoking in your driveway, and you know I hate cigarette smoke. After she left, I went to the basement. I'd been avoiding it, too many memories of Ruth doing laundry, organizing Christmas decorations. But now I forced myself to look with clear eyes. It took 20 minutes to find it. Behind the water heater, someone had installed a secondary water line, bypassing the main filter. It fed directly to the kitchen and my bathroom upstairs. The installation was professional, nearly invisible. They'd literally created a separate water system just for me. One that wouldn't go through the filter. One where they could add anything they wanted. I sat on the cold concrete floor and tried not to scream. I had to tell someone. The secret was eating me alive. But who could I trust? The next morning, Derek handed me a folder. Estate documents, Franklin. Just updating everything to make sure you're protected. Nothing major, just some signatures. I pretended to read through them. They'd give Maya immediate access to everything, no trust, no delays, no protections. I'd like my lawyer to review these first. Derek's jaw tightened. Why? Don't you trust your own daughter? Of course I do. Just being thorough. Franklin, Maya is your only family here. Patricia hasn't even called in months. Don't you think that says something about who really cares? Low blow. And effective. Part of me wanted to sign just to prove I trusted Maya. But I couldn't. I'll have my lawyer look at them, I repeated. Derek stared at me for a long moment. Fine. But don't wait too long. At your age, you never know what might happen. That afternoon, I started my performance. I pretended to stumble slightly on the stairs. Let myself look confused when Derek asked me a question. Moved slower. I needed them to think it was working, that their poison, whatever they were using, was taking effect. I needed to buy time. Maya noticed immediately. Dad. Are you feeling all right? Just tired, sweetheart. Probably need more sleep. Over the next few days, I escalated. Forgot where I put my keys. Asked Maya the same question twice. Let Derek catch me standing in the kitchen looking confused about why I'd come in there. Through it all, I watched their reactions. Maya's face showed guilt mixed with relief. She'd bite her lip, look away, then nod as if convincing herself this was necessary. Derek watched with cold calculation. Sometimes I'd catch him smiling. They believed it. Good. Derek insisted on taking me to a doctor, not my regular physician Dr. Sanders, but someone named Dr. Morrison. A specialist in geriatric care, Derek explained. I've heard great things. I wore a wire. Thomas had given it to me, disguised as a hearing aid. Just in case, he'd said. Dr. Morrison was in his 50s, smooth, professional. He did a basic examination, asked questions about my memory, my daily routine. Then he turned to Derek. How long have you noticed the decline? About 6 weeks, Derek lied smoothly. He's always been sharp, but lately, confusion, memory issues, wandering thought patterns. Dr. Morrison nodded sympathetically. At his age, these things can progress quickly. Franklin, I'm going to recommend we run some tests, but I think we might be looking at early-stage dementia. Have you considered simplifying your affairs? Making things easier to manage. What do you mean? Consolidating accounts, setting up clear powers of attorney, making sure someone you trust can handle things when you can't. It's a mercy, really, to arrange these things while you still can. I played confused. I suppose that makes sense. Derek jumped in. Maya already has power of attorney, document. We're just waiting on Franklin to sign a few more documents. Excellent. The sooner the better. Dr. Morrison handed Derek a prescription. This should help with the anxiety that sometimes comes with cognitive decline. In the car, I examined the prescription. It was for a sedative, powerful stuff. I don't think I need this. Doctor knows best, Franklin. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of fear, I was past fear now, into something colder and clearer. Because I heard something from Maya and Derek's room. Crying. I crept closer, pressing my ear to the door. I can't do this anymore. Maya's voice, thick with tears. He's my father. There has to be another way. There is no other way. Derek, harsh and cold. You want me to disappear? You know what Vincent does to people who don't pay. You've seen the news. They find them in pieces. There has to be something we can do. Sell everything we own, borrow money from Patricia. Patricia won't even return your calls. And everything we own isn't worth a tenth of what I owe. This is the only way, Maya. I'm sorry. I know you love him. But it's him or me. Choose. Silence. Then Maya, so quietly I almost missed it, I already chose 2 years ago. 2 years ago. When Ruth died. I backed away from the door, my mind reeling. Maya wasn't just a victim. She'd made a choice. Maybe Derek forced it, maybe he'd manipulated her, but she'd chosen him over her own mother. And now over me. I made it back to my room and sat on the bed Ruth and I had shared for 40 years. I should have felt betrayed. I should have felt angry. Instead, I just felt tired. But I couldn't quit. Not yet. The next morning, everything changed. My younger daughter Patricia showed up unannounced. She stood on the doorstep in a business suit, pulling a small suitcase, her expression concerned. Dad. We need to talk. Maya came to the door behind me. Patricia. What are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing. Why haven't you been returning my calls, Maya? Why does Dad sound confused every time I talk to him on the phone, which is rare, because suddenly he's always sleeping when I call. I don't know what you're talking about. Bullshit. Patricia pushed past us both, into the living room. Dad, pack a bag. You're coming to Seattle with me for a few weeks. He can't travel in his condition, Derek said from the kitchen doorway. The doctor said. What condition? What doctor? Dad's medical records are with Dr. Sanders, and Dr. Sanders says he's healthy as a horse. I called him yesterday. Derek's face went blank. Maya looked like she might be sick. So I'll ask again, Patricia said, looking between them. What the hell is going on in this house? Part of me wanted to tell her everything right then. Scream it all, let someone else carry this weight. But I couldn't. Not with Derek there. Not until I knew Patricia was safe. I'm fine, Patricia. Really, I said, playing my role. Just getting older. You know how it is. But Patricia was a lawyer. She'd built a career reading people, finding lies. She looked at me for a long moment, and I saw the exact second she understood I was performing. Right, she said carefully. Well, I took the week off. Figured I'd spend some time with my family. That okay with everyone? Derek looked like he wanted to argue but couldn't find a reason. Maya just nodded, pale and silent. That night, after everyone went to bed, Patricia slipped into my room. Dad. I know you're awake. Tell me the truth. Are they hurting you? I didn't answer immediately. The weight of the last week pressed down on me. Patricia, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Of course. Then trust that I know what I'm doing. And if I tell you to leave, to get on a plane and go back to Seattle, you'll do it immediately. No questions. Dad, you're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. We all should be. But before I could explain further, before I could tell her about Vincent Carbone and the poisoned water and her mother's murder, Maya appeared in the doorway. Dad. Patricia. Is everything okay? And there it was, the moment of truth. Patricia looked at me, waiting for my lead. Maya looked between us, fear and guilt written across her face. And somewhere in the house, Derek was listening. I was certain of it. Everything's fine, sweetheart, I said to Maya, and watched something in her break. The next morning, Patricia found the secondary water line in the basement. She'd gone down there looking for Christmas decorations to help me sort through, or so she said. Really, she'd been looking for proof of whatever she suspected. She came upstairs white-faced, holding her phone, and walked directly to Maya. Kitchen. Now. Dad, you too. Derek was out, meeting with Vincent, I suspected, updating him on why I wasn't dying fast enough. It was just the three of us. 3 members of a family that was tearing itself apart. Patricia set her phone on the table, photos of the water line clearly visible. Explain this. Maya's face crumpled. I can't. You're going to have to. Because that's a secondary water system bypassing the filter, and the only reason I can think of to install something like that is if you want to poison someone without poisoning everyone. The word hung in the air. Poison. Maya started crying. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Daddy. I didn't want to. I tried to find another way. But Derek said. Derek said what? My voice came out flat, cold. Derek said kill your father or else. He said Vincent would kill him. That they'd kill both of us. That we didn't have a choice. Patricia slammed her hand on the table. There's always a choice, Maya. You chose Derek over Dad. You chose money over family. Don't you dare pretend you didn't have a choice. You don't understand, Maya sobbed. Derek's he controls everything. My phone, my money, where I go. And when I told him I wanted to leave, he showed me pictures of Mom. Of what he did to Mom. He said he'd tell the police I killed her. That he had proof. That I'd go to prison. The room spun. What did you say? Maya looked at me with red, swollen eyes. Derek killed Mom. He poisoned her. And I knew. I figured it out after she died, found the arsenic he'd used. But I didn't say anything because I was scared. And now he uses it against me. Says if I don't do what he wants, he'll frame me for it. Make it look like I killed you both. Patricia grabbed Maya by the shoulders. Why didn't you come to us? To Dad. To me. Why didn't you go to the police? Because I'm so ashamed. Maya's voice broke. I was too scared to stop him from killing our mother. What kind of person does that make me? I thought maybe if I just did what he said, kept him calm, eventually we'd pay off the debt and it would be over. But the debt kept growing. And Vincent wanted the house. And Derek said this was the only way. I sat down heavily. My legs wouldn't hold me anymore. Your mother. I'm so sorry, Daddy. I'm so sorry. We sat in silence. Patricia was shaking with fury. Maya was crying. And I was trying to process that my daughter had let my wife die and had been complicit in planning my murder. But underneath the betrayal, I saw something else, terror. Real, bone-deep terror. Maya wasn't evil. She was trapped. Is Derek the one who installed the water line? I asked quietly. Maya nodded. He and Marcus. They did it while you were at physical therapy last month. And the water. What are they putting in it? I don't know. Something Vincent gave them. Something that's supposed to look like natural decline. Heart problems, organ failure. Like what happened to Mom. Patricia pulled out her phone. I'm calling the police right now. No. I grabbed her wrist. Not yet. Dad, they tried to kill you. And they tried to kill 8 other people in this neighborhood and succeeded. We need evidence that will stick. We need to catch Vincent Carbone, not just Derek. Otherwise, Vincent walks free and sends someone else to finish the job. Maya looked up. What do you mean, 8 other people? I told them everything. Thomas's investigation. The pattern of deaths. The real estate scheme. Vincent's criminal empire. As I spoke, Maya's face went from shock to sick to horrified. Mrs. Patterson, she whispered. Oh God. I asked Derek why she died right before you started spending time with her. He said it was just coincidence. But it wasn't, was it? He was worried she might tell you something. Might warn you. The pieces clicked into place. Mrs. Patterson had been my friend. We'd had coffee together once a week. She'd mentioned something about a strange man asking about selling her house, how pushy he'd been. A week later, she was dead. We need to work together, I said. All of us. Even you, Maya. Especially you. I don't deserve. No, you don't. But right now, deserving isn't the point. Surviving is. Patricia pulled out a legal pad. Okay. Let's think like lawyers. What evidence do we have? We spent the next 3 hours documenting everything. Maya's testimony about Derek and the poisoning. My recordings from Joe and Dr. Morrison. Thomas's investigation files. Photos of the secondary water line. The folder from Derek's car that I'd photographed. It's not enough, Patricia said finally. A good lawyer would shred this. Maya's credibility is shot because she's been complicit. The recordings might not be admissible. We need something concrete. We need Vincent on record. Maya could wear a wire, I suggested. When Derek meets with Vincent. Too dangerous, Patricia said immediately. But Maya sat up straighter. I'll do it. I owe you both that much. I owe Mom. If they find the wire, they'll kill you, I said. Then they'll kill me. But maybe you'll get it on recording first. Maya's voice was steady now, resolved. I can't undo what I've done. I can't bring Mom back. But I can try to stop them from doing this to anyone else. Patricia looked at me. I looked at Maya, really looked at her. I saw Ruth in her eyes, the woman I'd loved for 43 years. Ruth would have wanted me to save our daughter, even from herself. We do this right, I said. We plan it carefully. And if at any point it looks like you're in danger, Maya, you run. Understand? She nodded. Thomas came over that evening. We told him everything, including Maya's involvement. I watched him process it, saw the disgust flash across his face before professional detachment took over. I need to call in a favor, he said. FBI's been investigating the Carbone family for years. If we can give them Vincent on tape ordering a murder, they'll move heaven and earth to make arrests. He made a call, stepped outside. When he came back, he had someone with him, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and an FBI badge. This is Special Agent Sarah Chen, Thomas said. She's been building a case against Vincent Carbone for 3 years. Agent Chen looked at each of us in turn, her gaze lingering on Maya. Ms. Lawson, you understand you're confessing to conspiracy to commit murder? Yes. And you're willing to testify against your husband and Vincent Carbone in exchange for immunity? Maya swallowed hard. Yes. Then let's get started. They wired Maya with equipment so small I could barely see it. Taught her what to say, how to push for explicit confessions. Agent Chen was thorough, professional, and terrifying. If Derek suspects anything, abort immediately, she instructed. Vincent Carbone doesn't leave loose ends. You understand what that means? Maya understood. We all did. The meeting was set for the next night. Derek had told Maya that Vincent wanted to see them both. He was getting impatient about the timeline, about me still being alive and healthy looking despite their poison. The day crawled by. Derek came home, suspicious and irritable. Why's Patricia still here? She's family, I said simply. She can visit when she wants. Seems convenient, her showing up right when we're trying to handle Franklin's affairs. Patricia smiled coldly. I'm a lawyer, Derek. I wanted to make sure Dad's interests were being protected. You understand. The tension in the room could have been cut with a knife. But Derek couldn't push it without revealing too much, so he backed off. That evening, Maya and Derek left for the meeting. Patricia, Agent Chen, Thomas, and I followed in an unmarked van. Agent Chen had a whole team on standby, ready to move the second we had what we needed. The warehouse was in the industrial district, exactly as Joe had described. Rusted metal, broken windows, the kind of place where screams wouldn't carry. Vincent's black Mercedes was already there. Audio check, Agent Chen said into her comm. Maya's voice came through, crystal clear. Testing, 1 2 3. Good. Remember, get him to be explicit. We need him to say the words. We watched through high-powered cameras as Maya and Derek entered the warehouse. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might break my ribs. That was my daughter walking into a building with a murderer. Vincent Carbone looked exactly like his photos, expensive suit, silver hair, the kind of face that could sell you a car or order your death with equal ease. 2 men flanked him, obviously armed. Derek. Maya. Thank you for coming. Vincent's voice was smooth, cultured. We need to discuss the Franklin Morris situation. He's declining, Derek said quickly. The poison is working, just slower than expected. Another week, maybe 2. We don't have 2 weeks. November 15th is in 4 days. I have buyers lined up for that property. The development timeline is set. Your father-in-law needs to die. Now. Maya's voice trembled, real fear, not acting. There has to be another way. Can't we just wait a little longer? Vincent smiled, and it was the coldest thing I'd ever seen. Your husband owes me $340,000. The only reason he's still alive is because of that house. So no, we can't wait. Here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow night, Derek will help Franklin have an accident. A fall down the stairs. Maybe a medication overdose. I don't particularly care. But by Friday morning, Franklin Morris will be dead, or your husband will be. Please, Maya whispered. He's my father. I know. That's what makes this so deliciously ironic. Vincent turned to Derek. You killed her mother, didn't you? Ruth. I had Marcus look into it, classic arsenic poisoning. Very professional work. Derek's face went pale. How did you? I know everything, Derek. How do you think I've stayed in business this long? I know Ruth discovered your gambling debts. I know she threatened to tell Franklin and cut you off. I know you poisoned her and made it look natural. Vincent's smile widened. And I know Maya helped you cover it up. No, Maya said. I didn't know until after. Doesn't matter. You knew and said nothing. That makes you an accessory. Vincent pulled out his phone, showed them something. I have proof. Photographs. Financial records. A full dossier on both of you. If either of you fail me, if Franklin Morris isn't dead by Friday, I'll give this to the police. You'll both go to prison for murder. That's blackmail, Derek said weakly. No, that's insurance. Now, let me be very clear, Franklin Morris dies by Friday, or you both die. And then I'll kill Patricia too, just to tie up loose ends. That clear enough for you? In the van, Agent Chen was already signaling her team. We have him. Move in. Go, go, go. But then one of Vincent's men pulled out a device, scanned Maya, and the warehouse erupted in chaos. She's wired. The men ripped the device from Maya's collar. FBI. Vincent's face went from smooth to savage in an instant. He pulled a gun. You stupid. Maya ran. Derek tried to grab her but she was faster, terror giving her speed. Gunshots rang out, 2, 3, then a whole volley as the FBI team stormed the building. I was out of the van before anyone could stop me, running toward the warehouse. Patricia screamed my name. Thomas tried to grab me but I was too fast, too desperate. Inside was chaos. FBI agents swarming. Vincent's men on the ground. And Vincent himself, holding Maya against him, gun to her head, backing toward a side exit. Stay back. Vincent shouted. Stay back or she dies. Agent Chen had her weapon trained on him. There's no way out, Carbone. Let her go. She's my ticket out of here. You won't shoot with her in the way. Dad. Maya's eyes found mine. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. Vincent saw me, and something in his face changed. Recognition. Calculation. Franklin Morris. The man who wouldn't die. You've caused me a lot of trouble, old man. Let my daughter go. Why would I do that? She's worth more to me alive. For now. He pulled Maya closer. Tell me, Franklin, is she worth your life? Because that's the trade. You for her. Patricia appeared beside me, out of breath. Dad, no. But I was already moving forward. Let her go, and I'll come quietly. Dad, please. Maya was crying. Don't do this. I don't deserve. You're my daughter, I said simply. That's all that matters. Vincent considered for a long moment. Then he laughed. How touching. Fine. You want to trade? Come here. Slow. Agent Chen was yelling at me to stop, but I ignored her. I walked toward Vincent, each step feeling like it might be my last. When I was close enough, Vincent shoved Maya toward the FBI agents and grabbed me, gun pressing into my temple. Now we're going to walk out of here, Vincent said calmly. And if anyone follows, if anyone shoots, Franklin dies. Understood. You won't make it 2 blocks, Agent Chen said. Maybe not. But I'll take him with me. That a risk you want to take? The standoff lasted maybe 30 seconds, but it felt like hours. Vincent backing toward the door. Me held against him, feeling the cold metal of the gun against my skull. Patricia and Maya both crying. Thomas calculating distances, angles, chances. Then Vincent made his mistake. He looked away for just a second, checking the door behind him. I dropped, going completely limp with all my weight. 70 years of living gave me enough mass to throw him off balance. The gun went off, deafening, the bullet missing me by inches. And then Thomas was there, tackling Vincent, and Agent Chen's team swarmed them both. Vincent Carbone went down fighting, but he went down. Derek was already in handcuffs. Marcus had been grabbed trying to flee out a back window. It was over. I sat on the cold warehouse floor, my ears ringing from the gunshot, and my daughters collapsed on either side of me. Maya was sobbing. Patricia was shaking. And I held them both, 3 broken pieces of a family trying to figure out if we could ever be whole again. Agent Chen crouched down to our level. Mr. Morris, that was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen. Probably both, I admitted. We got everything. Vincent's confession, the blackmail, the order to kill you. Between that and the physical evidence Thomas gathered, we can connect him to at least 8 murders. He's done. And my daughter? Agent Chen looked at Maya, who was still crying against my shoulder. That's complicated. She was complicit, but she was also coerced. And she wore the wire, testified. The DA will probably offer a deal: probation, community service, mandatory counseling. And Derek? He's going away for a long time. Ruth's murder, conspiracy to commit your murder, the whole organization. He'll die in prison. Good. I didn't say it out loud, but I thought it loudly enough that everyone probably knew. They took our statements. Photographed my injuries, bruises from the tackle, powder burns from the gun. Documented everything. It was nearly 3 a.m. by the time we were released. Patricia drove us home in silence. Maya sat in the back, staring at nothing. I watched the city go by, thinking about Ruth, about how she died scared and confused while our daughter stayed silent. But I also thought about how Maya had worn the wire tonight. How she'd tried to run, to protect us, even knowing it might cost her life. People were complicated. Love was complicated. Forgiveness, that was the most complicated of all. When we got home, the sun was starting to rise. Patricia made coffee with shaking hands. Maya stood in the doorway like she wasn't sure she was allowed to enter. Sit, I told her. She sat. I can't forgive you for Ruth, I said, and watched her flinch. Not today. Maybe not ever. What you did, what you didn't do, that's going to be between us for the rest of our lives. I know. But you're still my daughter. And tonight you were brave. That counts for something. Maya looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. What happens now? Now. I took a sip of coffee, bitter and hot. Now we survive. We heal. We figure out how to be a family again, even though we're broken. Because the alternative is letting them win. Letting Vincent and Derek and all of it destroy us completely. And I'm not going to let that happen. Patricia reached across the table, took my hand and then Maya's. We're all we have left. Then we'd better make it count, I said. Outside, the neighborhood was waking up. People heading to work. Dogs being walked. Life continuing like the world hadn't almost ended in a warehouse last night. And maybe that was the point. Life continued. We had to figure out how to continue with it. Derek would go to prison. Vincent and Marcus too. The FBI would dismantle the organization, investigate every suspicious death. Justice would be slow and imperfect, but it would come. And us. We'd figure it out. One day at a time. One conversation at a time. One act of forgiveness or refusal to forgive at a time. I looked at my daughters, one who'd stayed loyal, one who'd betrayed and then tried to make it right, and thought about Ruth. She'd want me to try. She'd want me to save what was left of our family. So I would. Not today. Not perfectly. But I would try. That was enough for now. The arrests made national news. Elderly man uncovers real estate murder ring ran on every channel. My face was everywhere, the barbershop photo they dug up from some community event years ago. Reporters camped outside the house. Neighbors I'd barely spoken to in years suddenly wanted to share their memories of Mrs. Patterson, Mr. Lee, all the victims. I hated every second of it. Mr. Morris, how did you figure it out? A reporter shoved a microphone in my face as I tried to get my mail. No comment. Is it true your daughter was involved? I slammed the door in their faces. Inside, Maya sat on the couch, staring at nothing. She'd been like that for 3 days, barely eating, barely sleeping. Patricia had taken a leave of absence from her firm, appointed herself Maya's keeper and my bodyguard. Agent Chin visited daily with updates. Vincent's being held without bail. Derek too. We've connected them to all 8 previous murders, plus Ruth's. The DA is building a case that'll put them away for life. And Maya? Patricia asked. The DA's offering a deal. 2 years probation, 500 hours community service, mandatory therapy. She testifies against Derek and Vincent, and she walks. Maya flinched at the word walks. I don't deserve to walk. Maybe not, Agent Chin said bluntly. But the justice system isn't about what you deserve. It's about what we can prove and what serves the greater good. Your testimony puts away 2 murderers. Take the deal. After she left, I found Maya in the kitchen, holding one of Ruth's coffee mugs. Mom loved this mug, she whispered. Said it reminded her of our trip to Cabo. Remember. I remember. I think about that trip a lot. How happy she was. How happy we all were. Maya set down the mug carefully. I should have saved her, Dad. Derek showed signs for months, the mood swings, the secrecy, the money problems. I knew something was wrong. But I told myself I was imagining things. That I was being paranoid. You were scared. That's not an excuse. Mom died because I was too much of a coward to act. She looked at me with hollow eyes. How do you live with that? I didn't have an answer. How did anyone live with something like that? That afternoon, Joe came by. His face was still bruised from the beating Marcus's associates had given him. Wanted to check on you, Franklin. I should be checking on you. You're the one who got hurt trying to warn me. Joe shook his head. Marcus fooled me completely. 6 months I had a murderer working in my shop, and I never saw it. What kind of judge of character does that make me? We sat in silence, two old men trying to process the evil that had been hiding in plain sight. The families of the other victims have been calling me, Joe said. Mrs. Patterson's son, Mr. Lee's daughter. They want to know details. They want to know how their parents died. What do I tell them? The truth. It's all we can give them now. But the truth came with complications. That night, Patricia's flight back to Seattle, she'd planned to return for a few days to handle work, had a mechanical failure. Emergency landing, fire trucks, the works. The investigation found evidence of sabotage in the landing gear. They tried to kill me, Patricia said, her voice shaking as she called from the airport. At 30,000 feet, Dad. These people tried to bring down a whole plane to kill me. Come home. Now. She did. And we realized Vincent and Derek might be in jail, but their reach extended far beyond prison walls. Agent Chen assigned us protective detail, a young agent named Morrison who moved into the guest room. He seemed competent, thorough. Checked the locks every night, swept for bugs, monitored our phones. Too thorough, maybe. I started noticing small things. Morrison knew details about the house he shouldn't, where Ruth had kept her gardening tools, which floorboard in the hallway creaked. And he made phone calls that he didn't log in his reports. I heard him one night, speaking Italian in hushed tones. I called Thomas. Run a background check on Agent Morrison. Something's not right. Thomas called back 6 hours later. Franklin, you need to get out of that house. Morrison's brother owes money to Carlo Carbone, Vincent's brother. Morrison's been feeding information to the family. Vincent has a brother. Worse than Vincent, from what I'm hearing. More violent, less patient. If Carlo's involved, this isn't over. That night, Morrison suggested we move to a safe house for better protection. Just temporary, until we can guarantee your security. I played along, started packing. But I also sent a text to Agent Chen, a code word she'd given us for emergencies. Then I confronted Morrison with Patricia and Maya present, my phone recording everything. Your brother owes money to Carlo Carbone. Morrison's face went blank. I don't know what you're talking about. Thomas Knight ran a background check. Your brother, David Morrison, borrowed $50,000 from Carlo 2 years ago. Still hasn't paid it back. Morrison's hand moved toward his weapon. You need to stop talking, Mr. Morris. That safe house you want to take us to, that's not FBI, is it? That's Carlo's. Morrison pulled his gun. You're a smart old man. Too smart. That's always been your problem. The front door exploded inward. Agent Chen and her team rushed in, weapons drawn. Morrison tried to turn his gun on them, but Chen was faster. He went down hard, face first into my carpet. Got it all on recording, Chen said grimly, looking at me. Good work. But Franklin, if Morrison was compromised, we have to assume others might be too. How do we fight that? Very, very carefully. They took Morrison away. Found evidence on his phone, messages to Carlo, photographs of our daily routines, plans for the safe house that was actually an abandoned warehouse. Morrison had been planning to deliver us to Carlo like packages. That night, none of us could sleep. We sat in the living room, lights on, jumping at every sound. "They're going to keep coming," Maya said. "Aren't they?" Patricia nodded. "Until Carlo's arrested or we're dead. Those are the only two endings he'll accept." I thought about Ruth, about all the victims, about the warehouse confrontation. I thought about running, hiding, living in fear. And I realized I was done running. "Then we don't wait for him to come to us," I said. "We go after him." Patricia looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "Dad, you're 67 years old. Carlo Carbone runs a criminal empire. What exactly are you proposing?" "I'm proposing we use the one advantage we have. I know this city's infrastructure better than anyone. The water systems, the tunnels, the old maintenance passages. I can create a trap Carlo can't resist." That's insane. Maybe it was. But sanity hadn't kept us safe so far. I spent 3 days planning with Thomas. We pulled blueprints of the old water treatment plant where I'd worked for 30 years. Studied the tunnel systems, the valve locations, the access points. It was a maze down there. I'd spent decades learning every pipe, every chamber. "You want to lure Carlo into the tunnels and trap him there," Thomas said, reviewing my plans. "It could work. But Franklin, you'd need a team. You can't do this alone." I called in favors from my old union brothers. Big Eddie, Sal, and Raymond. We'd worked together for 20 years before retirement. They were in their 60s and 70s, but they were tough, loyal, and they remembered Ruth. "Someone killed Ruth and tried to kill you," Big Eddie said when I explained. "We're in." We needed bait, something Carlo wanted badly enough to take the risk. That's when Maya volunteered. "I'll contact Carlo. Tell him I want to make a deal, Derek's testimony for Derek's life. That I'm willing to give him information that could get Derek out of prison if he leaves our family alone. He'll know it's a trap," Patricia said. "Maybe. But he'll also know I'm desperate. That I'm still trying to save Derek despite everything. Abused women do that. We make excuses, we try to fix things. Carlo will believe it because it fits his worldview of how weak I am." I hated the plan. Hated putting Maya in danger again. But she was right, Carlo would believe it. Maya made the call on a burner phone. Carlo answered on the second ring, his voice smooth and cultured like his brother's. "Mrs. Lawson. I wondered when you'd call. I want to make a deal." "I'm listening." "Derek's testimony is the only thing connecting you to your brother's organization. If Derek recants, says he was coerced, your lawyers could argue Vincent acted alone. Vincent takes the fall, you stay free. And in exchange, you leave my family alone. No more attempts on our lives. We disappear, we never testify, and you let us go." Carlo laughed. "You're either very brave or very stupid. Why would I believe you?" "Because I'm a survivor. I've spent 2 years doing whatever Derek told me to keep breathing. You think I want to die for Frank Morris's pride? He's my father, but he's also the reason I'm in this mess. Help me save Derek, and I'll help you stay out of prison." Silence. "Then, where?" "The old water treatment plant on Industrial Drive. There's evidence there, documents my father hid before the FBI raid. Evidence that proves Derek was coerced, that Vincent orchestrated everything. Bring that to court, and Derek walks." "Why meet there?" "Because it's public enough that you won't kill me on sight, private enough that the FBI won't know. And because I know my father, he'd hide evidence somewhere he felt safe. He worked there for 30 years. Another pause. "Tomorrow night. 9 p.m. Come alone, or the deal's off." "I will if you will." Carlo laughed again. "We'll see." The next day, we prepared. Set up cameras, mapped escape routes, coordinated with Agent Chen who positioned her team around the perimeter. I walked through the treatment plant, remembering 30 years of late shifts and early mornings. Ruth used to bring me lunch on Tuesdays. We'd eat in the break room, talking about the girls' school plays and Maya's soccer games. It felt like another lifetime. That evening, Big Eddie pulled me aside. "You sure about this, Franklin? We're not young men anymore." "I'm sure. Ruth would want you alive more than she'd want revenge." This isn't revenge. This is making sure no one else dies the way she did. At 8:45 p.m., Maya walked into the plant. She wore a wire again, but this time Chen had better equipment, more backup. Patricia wanted to go with her, but I refused. You're the lawyer. If something happens to Maya and me, you're the one who can make sure justice actually happens. Patricia hugged me so hard my ribs ached. Come back, Dad. I plan to. Maya and I took our positions. She'd go in first, meet with Carlo, keep him talking. I'd be hidden in the old supervisor's office with a clear view and audio feed. When we had enough evidence, Chen's team would move in. Carlo arrived at 9 p.m. exactly, with 4 armed men. More than he'd promised. But not as many as he could have brought, which meant he half believed Maya's story. Mrs. Lawson, he said warmly, like they were old friends. You look terrified. That's smart. Where's the evidence? Maya led him through the plant, toward the old filing room. My father was paranoid. He kept copies of everything. When he realized what was happening, he hid documents here, financial records linking Vincent to the property purchases, communications between Vincent and the police he'd bribed. Bring those to trial, and you can argue Vincent acted alone. And your father just let you waltz in here and take them. My father thinks I'm at a therapy session. He doesn't know I've been communicating with you. Carlo studied her. You're lying. But I'm curious enough to see where this goes. They entered the filing room. Maya pointed to a cabinet. Top drawer. One of Carlo's men opened it, empty except for a note. It's a trap, you idiot. Carlo pulled his gun. Where is he? Where's Franklin Morris? Right here, I said, stepping out from the supervisor's office. Thomas and my union brothers emerged from other hiding spots, armed, not with guns, but with heavy wrenches, pipes, improvised weapons. Carlo laughed. You're kidding. You think a bunch of senior citizens can take on armed professionals? I think you're in my territory now. Every pipe, every valve, every tunnel in this place, I know them all. You're the one who's trapped. Chen. Carlo shouted. FBI. Move in. But I'd already moved to the main valve controls. Open 3 key valves simultaneously. Water began flooding the lower tunnels, controlled, directed, flowing exactly where I needed it to go. Chaos erupted. Gunfire. Carlo's men shooting wild. Big Eddie took a bullet to the shoulder but stayed standing. Raymond tackled one of the gunmen. Thomas fought another. And Maya ran toward the exit as I'd told her to. But Carlo grabbed her, gun to her head. Stop the water or she dies. Water was rising fast in the lower levels. Carlo's men were panicking, trying to get to higher ground. But I'd spent 30 years learning this plant's rhythms. I knew where the water would go, which rooms would flood first, where the air pockets were. Let her go, Carlo. Stop the water. Can't. Those valves take 5 minutes to reverse. By then, the lower levels will be flooded. Your men are trapped down there. I wasn't lying. His men's screams echoed from below as water rose around them. Chen's FBI team was trying to get in, but the flooding had blocked main access points. They'd have to go around, that would take time. You're killing them. Carlo screamed. You killed 8 people for real estate. You killed my wife. You tried to kill my daughters. I'm returning the favor. Carlo's face twisted with rage. He pointed his gun at me, still holding Maya. Then we all die together. That's when Maya did something I'll never forget. She went completely limp, dropping her full weight like I'd done with Vincent. Carlo stumbled. The gun went off. Pain exploded in my side. I went down hard. Thomas tackled Carlo. Raymond helped. They wrestled him to the ground as FBI agents finally burst through a secondary entrance. Carlo fought like a demon, but he was outnumbered. They got him in cuffs. Maya crawled to me, pressing her hands against my bleeding side. Dad. Dad, stay with me. I'm okay, I lied. The world was getting dark around the edges. You're shot. Flesh wound. I've had worse. I hadn't, but she needed to hear it. Agent Chen appeared above me. Ambulance is coming. Franklin, stay awake. Carlo. We got him. Audio, video, attempted murder. It's over. My union brothers gathered around. Big Eddie was being treated by a paramedic. Sal and Raymond looked battered but alive. Thomas knelt beside me, his face grim. You crazy bastard. You almost got us all killed. But I didn't. No. You didn't. The ambulance came. They loaded me up, Maya refusing to leave my side. As we pulled away, I saw Carlo being dragged into a police car, his expensive suit soaked and muddy. He looked at me through the ambulance window, and for once, his smooth facade was gone. Just raw hatred remained. Good. I wanted him to hate me. Better that than the smug confidence he'd had when he thought he owned the world. At the hospital, they patched me up. The bullet had gone through cleanly, painful but not fatal. I'd need physical therapy, but I'd live. Patricia burst into my hospital room at 2 a.m. Are you insane? You could have died. But I didn't. That's not the point. Maya sat in the corner, covered in my blood. It's my fault. I dropped wrong. I made him shoot. You saved my life, I told her. You did exactly what you needed to do. Mom would have been braver. She wouldn't have frozen. Your mother would have been terrified, just like you. But she would have done it anyway, just like you did. Being brave isn't about not being scared, Maya. It's about acting despite the fear. She started crying again, but this time it was different. Cleaner, somehow. Like something toxic was finally draining out. The trial took 8 months. Derek pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in Ruth's death, to avoid first-degree charges. He got 25 to life. His lawyer tried to argue coercion, but the jury didn't buy it. Vincent and Carlo both got life without parole. Multiple counts of murder, conspiracy, racketeering. The FBI dismantled their entire organization, 53 arrests total. Agent Chen got a commendation. Maya took her probation deal. 2 years probation, 500 hours community service, mandatory therapy 3 times a week. The judge added a condition: she had to write letters of apology to every family of Carlo and Vincent's victims. She wrote them all. 43 letters, one for each victim the FBI had connected to the Carbone family. Some families wrote back, forgiving. Some sent her letters full of rage. Some never responded at all. I don't blame the ones who hate me, Maya told me one evening. We were having dinner, just the two of us, something we'd been doing weekly as part of her therapy. I hate me too sometimes. You wearing the wire saved lives. Doesn't erase what I didn't do for Mom. She was right. It didn't. Some things couldn't be erased. Patricia had returned to Seattle finally, but she'd negotiated remote work 3 days a week. She'd rented an apartment 20 minutes away and came for dinner every Sunday. The 3 of us, trying to rebuild something broken. It wasn't easy. Some weeks Maya spiraled, missing sessions, drinking too much. Some weeks Patricia and I fought about whether we were pushing Maya too hard or not hard enough. Some weeks I woke up angry at Ruth for dying and at myself for not seeing the signs. But we kept trying. 6 months after the trial, Maya completed her community service at a domestic violence shelter. She'd been counseling other women, using her experience to help them escape abusive situations. Her supervisor said she was a natural. I think I want to do this permanently, Maya told me. Get certified as a counselor. Help other women who are trapped like I was. Your mother would like that. You think? I thought about Ruth, her kindness, her fierce protectiveness of our girls, her belief that people could change. I know. Joe reopened his barbershop after 6 months of recovery. His first customer was me, of course. Tuesday at 10 a.m., same as always. Feels good to be back, Joe said, draping the cape around me. Thought about retiring, but what would I do? Golf. I hate golf. You're a terrible golfer. Exactly. He started trimming, his hands steadier than they'd been in years. Marcus's trial is next month. They're charging him as an accomplice in all of it. Good. He's my nephew, Franklin. Family. Family doesn't mean loyalty to evil. Joe nodded slowly. No. I suppose it doesn't. A year after everything, we held a proper memorial for Ruth. Not the original funeral, which had been full of lies and secrets. This time, we told the truth, that she'd been murdered, that justice had taken time but had finally come. I invited everyone whose lives Ruth had touched. Her book club. Her yoga friends. Neighbors. Former co-workers. The church filled with people, all of them sharing stories of Ruth's kindness. Patricia gave a speech about her mother's strength. Maya gave one about her mother's forgiveness. I gave one about 43 years of love. Afterward, we buried a memory box in the cemetery next to Ruth's grave. Inside were letters from each of us, photographs, her favorite book. Patricia planted a Japanese maple, Ruth's favorite tree. I miss her, Patricia said, staring at the fresh earth. Every day, I agreed. Maya knelt by the grave, placing her hand on the headstone. I'm trying to be better, Mom. I'm trying to be someone you'd be proud of. We stood there for a long time, three people who'd survived something terrible and were slowly, painfully learning to live again. 2 years after the arrest, I moved out of the old house. Too many ghosts, too many bad memories. Maya bought it from me, used money from a settlement with the Carbone estate to purchase it. She renovated completely, turned Ruth's bedroom into a meditation room, painted everything in light colors. I need to make it mine, she explained. Turn something poisoned into something good. I moved into a condo near the waterfront. Smaller, manageable, with no basement and no memories of murder. My neighbors were a mix of ages, young couples, retirees, a few single parents. They knew me as Franklin, the guy who helped fix things and made terrible jokes about the weather. I joined a community garden, made new friends who didn't Google my name before talking to me. I was dating someone, a widow named Diane who'd lost her husband to cancer 3 years ago. She made me laugh, tolerated my stubbornness, and understood grief. You going to marry her? Patricia asked during one of our Sunday dinners at Maya's renovated house. Maybe. Ruth would want me to be happy. Ruth would want you to be happy, Maya agreed. But she'd also interrogate Diane thoroughly first. We all laughed. It felt good to laugh about Ruth without it hurting. I'd become an advocate for elder abuse prevention. Gave talks at senior centers, worked with state legislators on laws to protect vulnerable elderly people from financial exploitation. The Ruth Morris Foundation for Elder Protection operated out of a small office downtown, funded by the settlement money and donations. Maya worked there part-time, coordinating support services for victims. Patricia served on the board, handling legal matters. Thomas did investigations pro bono for families who suspected their elderly relatives were being exploited. We've helped 23 families this year, Maya reported at our quarterly board meeting. Stopped 4 exploitation schemes, recovered over $2 million in stolen assets. Ruth would be proud, I said. And I meant it. We'd turned something horrific into something meaningful. It didn't erase what happened, but it gave it purpose. Derek wrote to Maya from prison. A long letter full of apologies and excuses. Her therapist suggested she read it with support present, so Patricia and I sat with her at my condo. The letter blamed his addiction, blamed Vincent, blamed his childhood. It apologized without actually taking responsibility. Classic Derek. Maya read it twice, then wrote back one sentence, I forgive you for me, not for you. Don't contact me again. She mailed it and cried for an hour. Patricia held her on one side, I held her on the other. When she finished crying, she looked lighter somehow. That's done, she said. Finally done. 3 years after everything, Joe published his book, The Barber's Warning, How One Conversation Saved a Life and Exposed a Murder Ring. He documented everything, with my permission. All proceeds went to the foundation. The book became a regional bestseller. Joe did interviews, went on podcasts, became a minor celebrity. He handled it better than I had. You should write your version, he told me during a book signing at a local store. Nobody wants to hear an old man ramble. Franklin, you took down a mob family using water valves and stubbornness. People want to hear that. Maybe someday. But not yet. I was still too close to it, still processing everything. Maya threw a garden party at the renovated house, her first big social event since everything happened. She invited family, friends, neighbors, Ruth's old book club members. Big Eddie came, his shoulder fully healed. Sal and Raymond. Thomas and his wife. Agent Chen. Even Joe. In the backyard, Maya had created a memorial garden for Ruth, Japanese maples, rose bushes, a small fountain. A bench with a plaque, in memory of Ruth Morris, who taught us that love means fighting for what's right. This is beautiful, Patricia said, walking through the garden. Mom would love it. That's the point, Maya said. This house tried to be a tomb. I wanted to make it a home again. A place where good things happen. I sat on the bench, watching my daughters laugh with friends, watching people enjoy food and sunshine and life. It wasn't perfect, Maya still had hard days, Patricia still worried constantly, I still woke up some nights with nightmares. But we were healing. Slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. The following Tuesday, I went to Joe's barbershop. Same time, same chair. The ritual we'd maintained for 40 years, interrupted only by murder and mayhem. Same as usual, Franklin? Joe asked. Same as usual. As he trimmed my beard, he mentioned something that made me tense. New customer came in yesterday. Young guy, nervous. Asked a lot of questions about you. What kind of questions? Where you live now. If you still come in on Tuesdays. If you have family with you. My hand moved toward my phone. Old instincts dying hard. Joe caught the motion and smiled. Relax. I called Agent Chen immediately. She's checking him out. Probably just a reporter or true crime enthusiast. I relaxed slightly. Can't be too careful. No, Joe agreed. But we also can't live in fear forever. You taught me that. He was right. We'd survived something terrible. We'd fought back. We'd won. Living in constant fear would let them win after all. I looked at my reflection in the mirror, older than I felt, with more gray in my beard than Ruth would recognize. But alive. Still here. Still fighting. My phone buzzed. A text from Maya, dinner at my place tonight. Patricia's coming. I'm trying Mom's lasagna recipe. I smiled and texted back, I'll bring garlic bread. Joe finished the trim, brushed away the stray hairs, removed the cape. Same time next Tuesday, Franklin. I stood, stretched, felt my healing side twinge slightly. Looked out the window at the neighborhood, rebuilt, renewed, still changing. The world kept turning. Life kept happening. Same time next Tuesday, old friend. I paid, tipped generously, and walked out into the autumn sunshine. My phone rang, Diane, asking about our dinner plans for Friday. I answered, making plans, talking about ordinary things. Movies and restaurants and whether her grandson's birthday party would have enough cake. Ordinary. Normal. Boring in the best possible way. As I drove home, I passed the cemetery where Ruth was buried. I hadn't visited in a few weeks. I pulled in, parked, walked to her grave. The Japanese maple Patricia had planted was thriving, leaves turning brilliant red. Hey, sweetheart, I said, sitting on the grass beside her headstone. The girls are doing better. Maya's healing, slowly but surely. Patricia's found balance. They're going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. The wind rustled the maple leaves, and for just a moment, I could almost hear Ruth's voice, I know, Franklin. I always knew you'd protect them. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. The wind settled. The world was quiet except for birdsong and distant traffic. I sat there a while longer, then stood, brushed grass from my pants. I'll come back Sunday. Maya's making your lasagna. I'll tell you how it turns out. As I walked back to my car, I felt lighter. Not healed, that would take longer, maybe forever. But lighter. Moving forward instead of drowning in the past. My phone buzzed again. Patricia, bringing wine tonight. Red or white? I typed back, both. It's Tuesday, and we survived another week. And that was enough. For today, for this moment, survival and family and garlic bread were enough. I drove toward Maya's house, toward Tuesday dinner and ordinary conversation and the slow, difficult work of rebuilding a family from broken pieces. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and amber. Ruth would have loved this light. She always said autumn sunsets were God's way of saying everything beautiful was worth the wait. She was right, as usual. I turned up the radio, found a station playing old R&B, the stuff Ruth and I used to dance to in the kitchen. I sang along badly, off-key, not caring who saw. Tomorrow I'd wake up and do it all again. Go to the foundation office, help another family in crisis, work to prevent what happened to Ruth from happening to anyone else. Next Tuesday I'd go to Joe's barbershop, maintain the ritual that had saved my life. But tonight, I'd eat lasagna with my daughters and laugh about Patricia's terrible wine choices and watch Maya's face light up when the recipe turned out right. I'd tell stories about Ruth, the good ones, the ones that made us smile instead of cry. Tonight, that was enough. The barber's warning had saved my life. But my daughters, broken, flawed, trying, they were the reason I'd fought to keep it. And I'd keep fighting, keep living, keep choosing hope over fear, until my last breath. That's what Ruth would have wanted. That's what love demanded. So that's what I'd do. If your own child's survival depended on your death, and they chose themselves over you, could you ever truly forgive them, or would you just be pretending for the sake of what's left? If this story made you think twice about trust and family, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the complicated bonds that hold us together and tear us apart.